So if you've already been made redundant and you're sitting there with a big pot of money, it's a simple problem. How quickly can we get our business up and running, starting from now? But a more complex problem is if you're still in a job. How do you get your own business up and running while still working your job? And I've made a little diagram here to think about when should you leave your job. And if you look at my diagram, the simplest case, possibly the worst case financially though, is where your job ends and then you start your new business. And your new business will make no money for a bit until it's ready, and then the sales will gradually ramp up. But you can see there's a whole gap of lost money here. Now, it's worth it because eventually your new business will probably make more money than your job did. If you're self-employed, you can make 10 times the money you can make in an ordinary employed job. So it'll be worth it in the end, but you will have to get through this patch of no money. So that's what I'm going to call situation number 1, where you finish with your job and you start your new business. But situation number 2 is where you start your new business while you're still employed. Now, one of the questions is whether you can tell your boss, are you allowed to do it, etc. Are you allowed to do whatever you like in your spare time? Because incredibly, some companies won't let you do things even in your spare time, even if it's completely unconnected with what they do. How dare you import pots from India and sell them on the internet? Now, I don't see why that affects your job at all, but apparently they own us, not just 9 to 5, but they own us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But there we are. But leaving that aside for the moment, what if you started doing it while you were still employed? So then your side business will start to ramp up. And maybe when it gets to something half decent, you could then chuck your job in. And you can see on my diagram that once your self-employed business reaches about half of what you're earning, then you could perhaps live on it. And that might be the time to then quit your job because you've proved it, you know it works, and you can go for it. And you might need to quit your job at that point because your side business is probably getting quite demanding and you probably will need the time and effort of working on it full time. So at that point, you may need to quit your job and then carry on building your side business. So for a short time, you're going to be on half pay, but you've at least saved up some extra money because the point where you left, you were on 1.5, weren't you? Because you had your whole job and you had your side business as well. So maybe you could save up a bit of money from that to keep you going in the gap while you build up your other business. And by the way, wouldn't it be great if you could carry on with your job perhaps part-time after you leave to do your own business? It'd be really nice if you could move your main job down from 5 days a week to 3 days a week. And your boss might agree to that. They might actually be delighted because they've only got to pay you for 3 days a week, but they've still got access to all of your knowledge every week. So it might really suit them to have you on 3 days a week, and you could use the other 2 days a week to keep working on your self-employed business. So that's situation number 2. The third option is to get your new business completely 100% up and running while you're still working your day job. Now, you're going to be really busy doing this. You're probably going to be working, evenings, weekends. It depends what your business is, but it might be really, really time consuming. But wouldn't it be fantastic if you could build your own business until it gets to the point where it's earning the same as your job and then quit your job? So at that point, you're earning double your money and you can quit your job and now you're earning the same as you used to get from your job, but you're doing it the self-employed way. And from that point, the only way is up as well. So you'll earn more than your job before long. So that would be a dream if you could do it from the time point of view. And also if it didn't affect your performance in your job. Because the chances are if you're running a business that's bringing in as much money as your job, it's going to show. You're going to be more tired, more distracted. You're going to be getting phone calls at work. And the chances are your employer's not going to like that. And I think this is a really difficult one to achieve. But in theory, it's an option. So you can see from the diagram that ideally you would build the whole business while you're still working, or at least you would build half of your new business while you're still working and then end your work. The worst case would be to start building the business after you've finished working, because then you've got no money. So the dilemma is, do you do it when you've got no time and do both at once, or do you do it when you've got no money and finish your job and start building your new business? And it's very hard to have the time and the money. There are a couple of solutions to that. And one of them is maybe your boss would let you go part-time. Now, you'd have to decide how you talk to them about that, and we'll look at that in the next video. But you might be able to go part-time 4 or 3 days a week, and then your boss would be perhaps quite happy because they've got still access to all of your knowledge for 3 days a week, so they can get most of the value from you, but you've got 2 days a week to build your business. So that could be really, really win-win. The other option, of course, is even when your business is doing really well, is to carry on working full time if you really want to make a lot of money but have no time at all. So you've got these various options, and I think they're important to think about the timing of how you're going to merge these two things together. But the final thing I would like to add is that there might well be a slower ramp up than you're expecting. So it's very easy to think, oh yeah, well, I'll be up and running in 6 months, so I'll just overlap it and I'll start now and it'll be fine. It'll all be done by Christmas or whatever. But actually, it might take you several years to get your self-employed business up and running, particularly if you're building it at the same time as doing your job. So you won't be able to put massive amounts of time into it. So it may take longer than you think. And that's fine, but as long as you factor that into your plan, it might mean 3 years of working on something on the side without your boss knowing, taking quite a lot of time and effort, maybe giving up your evenings or your weekends, and you might need to plan that in. But of course, it's going to be worth it. Probably option 2 is what we're going to do. We're going to do a little bit of it in parallel, and then when it starts to get half decent, that's when we quit our job. So I think those are your options, and that's the next bit of your planning that you need to think about.